Well, hello there, and welcome to episode 46 of my self-employment vlog, and happy Christmas to you. I hope you all had a lovely time. I know it must have been strange for many of you. Perhaps you were unable to see, close family because of the restrictions, but I hope that hopefully you all had a good time nonetheless. Now, this episode is really a kind of a year in review. I felt that it was a good opportunity to look over the year and see what I've achieved, and to set myself some targets going forward for the future. Now, I did this last year as well, and it's quite interesting to watch it back. I'll put a link at the end of this video for it, because I was at the stage where I was very close to finishing my teaching job to go self-employed. So I was on that transition period there, and you can see the real optimism in my eyes as I'm looking forwards to 2020, and little did I know just what kind of a year it would be. So strap yourself in as I discuss all things 2020. Now, got myself some of the good stuff, because I feel that talking about 2020 is, you require a bit of Dutch courage, really, don't you, to kind of get through this. And also just a quick shout out to my dad, whose birthday it was yesterday, the 27th of December. I think we've all had what I'd like to call a COVID birthday. That is a birthday where you can't go out and do anything. So it's all been strange for everyone, but I hope you had a good birthday, nice and sort of chilled out as well. So cheers. So at the start of 2020, I was still a teacher at the secondary school that I'd been teaching in for 7 years. And I was desperately unhappy, and whilst I knew that the transition to going to self-employed was only months away in April, I still felt that those 4 months were a really hard slog. I was just counting down the days to get to the end of my time so that then I could move on. I'd spent many months preparing, and so my mind was really occupied by going self-employed, and so my teaching job, I was really just going in and doing what I had to do, really. Now, as I was approaching sort of the end point, I suppose, of my teaching job, that was when we suddenly had news of the coronavirus, and at first, I got wind of it and I heard about it, and I didn't pay too much attention, but then day by day it started to get worse and worse. And there was a sense of unrest in the school. Suddenly we're having to sit apart from each other, and pupils were obviously getting a little bit upset about things and, the uncertainty that came with it. But little did I know that, my final days would not actually be, how you would expect for your final day at a job, where you kind of draw a line under a period of time that you've done your job, you say goodbye to people and you move on into the sunset. I didn't get any of that. It was very much school is closed, off we go, and that was it. So my very last teaching day, I had a feeling was going to be my last, but it was still uncertain because I hadn't had confirmation that the school was going to close. But I felt that this possibly was going to be my last day. And yeah, there was no sort of, no pomp and circumstance, no sort of going out parade. It was very much, I taught my last lesson, I packed up and then left, because as all teachers had to do, we all packed up and left. And then the school was empty for months and months and months, whilst we were all housebound with a lockdown. So it was a very strange way to end my teaching career, and I felt quite sad. I felt quite sad about it because I didn't quite get the closure I was hoping for. I wanted to end my teaching with a very definitive full stop, and this felt like I kind of just drifted off into the background. But nonetheless, I picked myself up and I threw myself into my self-employment. The main mission was to gain piano students, because piano teaching was to be my main source of income. Yes, so I had already set some things up in motion, and I was very fortunate that despite the fact that we had lockdown, a lot of people did actually quite happily take part in online lessons, and it was the first time for me teaching online, so it was new, as it was for all of my colleagues. And yeah, for the first couple of weeks we had regular Zoom meetings where we would catch up and talk as teachers to each other about how we were finding it and our experiences. And generally people were responding very, very well indeed. And soon we got into the flow of things. You know, I had a nice number of pupils, and my end target really for teaching was to hit 30 pupils. That was my kind of golden number, and actually I ended up hitting that number relatively quickly into things. So so I was very proud of myself for achieving that, you know, because then suddenly I had a livelihood. You know, I had a nice cohort of pupils to teach, and things were going well. So alongside that, I continued composing, and I released The Nature of Solitude 2, another album that I'm incredibly proud of. It's been very well received, and so yeah, despite you know, things not being good in the world, things were generally going quite well for me during the spring, going into the summer. I started busking as well, which, you know, was quite daunting to start with. But once I got out there and started getting used to it, you know, it became quite natural and quite normal. And I did sort of reach a point towards the end of the summer where I had a little bit of fatigue, and I perhaps was less enthusiastic about busking because it's, you know, it's quite tiring, and you're playing a lot of the same music over and over. But again, it's one of those things that once you're out there, you know, you do get into the spirit of things. And so we had many ups and downs, really. We had times then where we were suddenly able to return to almost normal. And so all of my online teaching was then rescheduled for face-to-face, and I started going into the local primary school, back to the music school that I teach in. And yeah, we were kind of getting into the flow of things again. But, you know, generally the summer period was good. I also had a Mike Oldfield book released as well, and also a piano book that was hosted by Piano Language via Alexa Madison. So I felt that this year I've released a lot of stuff, albums and books. I've established myself as a piano teacher, and I've got really great results. And I managed to do all of that, you know, during the lockdown, which I think is, you know, commendable. So yeah, eventually we had to go back to being online again after we were having spikes again. So my whole routine changed once more. So I've had to learn this year to be very adaptable, because you never quite know when the rules are going to change and when things are going to change. But, you know, luckily I kept most of my pupils and we moved forward. I had some fantastic results with exams for my pupils. I've got a 100% pass rate, and I would probably say, I haven't officially calculated it, but I would say at least 2/3, if not 3/4, go on to get distinction, with the remainder getting merit. Now I think that's a pretty good track record for exam results, so I'm really proud. And obviously, you know, as a teacher, I want to make sure that I can maintain that standard and get pupils the best grades that they want, because there's nothing that makes me feel happier than seeing a pupil get the grade that they really want and deserve, because they've worked hard for it. And I've seen many pupils this year who've got amazing results and who've done incredibly well, and I'm so proud. It makes me very, very happy, and it just makes me realise just how unhappy I was in in my teaching job at the secondary school, because whilst there were pupils there who appreciated what I did and responded well, there was just so many that just didn't want to be there and wanted to cause so much heartache and pain for everyone, and you know, that's just not fun for anyone. But in my new position, it's been just superb. I've loved every minute of it. So going forward, really, 2021, I'm not particularly optimistic so much about the first half of 2021, because I think we've still got a lot of hurdles to overcome and a lot of challenges that are coming our way. Plus we have the winter period, January, February, March, and to be fair, April can also be a bit iffy. So we've got a few months now where it's going to be tough. There isn't a huge amount to look forward to generally, because Christmas is now been and gone. So it's kind of getting knuckled down to work. So moving forward to 2021, I want to maintain my piano teaching, 30 being the kind of golden number. If I could try and keep it to around about there, then that would be great. I don't want my teaching to slip too much below that, but fingers crossed I'll be able to keep that going. I have a new book for the On Track series coming out later in the year, and that's going to be great. You know, I'm really excited to get that done as well. I'm also writing a Mike Oldfield book, which is due out around about April time as well. Still currently working on that. I also have a new project, Reset 21, which is a limited edition run of 25 CDs. And the music is, you know, a little bit different and reflects, I guess, my view on life in 2020. So that's coming out at the end of January. And that's about it really in terms of projects. I'll continue to do very much what I did you know, this year. I think I need to work a little bit more on my discipline, particularly making sure that I stick to a kind of a working timetable. Obviously when you are self-employed, there's no one above you to tell you, you know, to get on with it. You have to be quite self-sufficient in that way, and I feel like I haven't quite got it. I think it's easy to get distracted, particularly when you're working at home. But the things I think I've done really well at, and the things that I'm most proud of, is that I have spent pretty much most of my life doubting myself and seeking the approval of others before I make decisions, because I was never really one to trust myself when it came to things. People used to always just sort of take over and, you know, lead the way, and I kind of just followed. Even if I disagreed, I would just follow to avoid conflict. And that's happened for the best part of my adult life, and it's led me to all kinds of problems, you know. Trying to please everyone and trying to do what they want is just not good at the end of the day. So I think going self-employed, it's made me realise that actually every decision that I make is mine alone and no one else can make it. And so therefore I've become, you know, a CEO of myself. I have to make the decisions, I have to answer to those decisions, and you know, I think it's made me trust myself a lot more. I'm a lot more reticent now to accept other people's directives, you know, whereas before people might have said, oh, why don't you do this, or why don't you try it like that? And I would have just bowed over and said, yeah, okay then. Whereas now I feel like I've got a bit more of a backbone, and I'm able to say, no, this is the decision I've made, this is why I've made it, and I'm going to stick with it. And I think I've made good decisions this year, good business decisions. I've invested where possible in certain things that are hopefully going to help me make better music and to develop my, you know, my career. And I feel I have made the right decisions. You know, not every decision has been perfect, but I feel I have made the right decisions when it's counted. And so, yeah, so I look forward now to 2021, a year of uncertainty. And a year of challenge, no doubt, but one where I feel like I've at least got some experience now of the self-employed world. I feel like I know a little bit more about what I'm doing, and hopefully that will allow me to go forward with a bit more confidence, making decisions, you know, that are going to further me and my career as I go forward. And yeah, that's all I can really say. Thank you to everyone that's been watching these videos. We're close now to the, you know, to the full year of self-employment, and I'll do a separate video when we get to that landmark. Yeah, if you can keep subscribing. I know my YouTube video frequency is perhaps not so high at the moment due to other things, but I will do my best to keep uploading where possible. But if you can subscribe, if you haven't already, that'd be great. I'm very close to hitting 400 subscribers now, and I'm, you know, if I can get to that 500 halfway point, then perhaps maybe this time next year I'll be talking about how I got the 1,000 subscribers in 2021. Fingers crossed. Anyway, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my my bourbon, Jack Daniels. Other bourbons are available, and I will see you then next week for the next episode. Take care of yourselves, have a good new year, and I'll see you in 2021. Take care.